Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Listen, I'm excited to know that we are on and we already got one person on with us. I am looking forward to what tonight is going to be about. I want to say this is going to be a little deep discussion. It may be a deep discussion for some of y'all, but for those of us that are living this lifestyle, and we'll get to that part in a minute. You'll get it, you'll understand it. Because it is absolutely necessary. So I'm excited that you guys are on, logged on, ready to go for the healing clinic tonight. I ask that you like and share with someone. I'm absolutely sure that somebody needs to hear this conversation that's going to be going on tonight. And I'm excited that I bring my girlfriends back. My friends are coming on with me tonight, and I know if you've been following for a while, when I did the launch party, these particular friends had came on with me, and I honestly I praise God because it's too often that when you got your own mission and you doing your own thing, sometimes people don't want to help you carry the torch. Like they be like, I got my own stuff to do, but I'm grateful for them to with an understanding of knowing that we all can be helpers one to another, and collectively we can be helpers to someone else. And so tonight we're going to dive into a deep conversation. Like I said, I'm bringing my girlfriends back. I'm bringing Jeri back. I'm bringing Annie back, and I'm bringing Miss Shardel back. These ladies are going to talk with me tonight. And enlighten you guys, encourage you guys. What I want to tell you now before I go any further is to make sure that you are liking our page, subscribing, follow us. Make sure you're following us on Facebook. Follow my personal page. Follow the Healing Clinic page. Make sure you go over to Instagram for the Healing Clinic podcast. Follow us there. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am asking you to support something that is so amazing, and that has been put into place to encourage and uplift people. Here we tell the raw and uncut truth. We don't hold nothing back. Because I have a clear understanding as the visionary of this platform of what God has given me. And I'm clear of that we are overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the power of our testimony. So more than often, we're going to come here and share about an experience that we had and how God has kept us. So tonight's topic is Jesus and a therapist. There's more than often in the church where therapy is frowned upon. It is frowned upon. It is the laying on the couch. It is demonized. It is all those things. But tonight we're coming to look at it from a different perspective and even offer information that if you are one that you look at it as demonized, that therapy can't help you. Hopefully by the end of this conversation, I don't even want you to get all the way to the end, probably in the middle, that we can encourage you that therapy is a great additive with Jesus, because the topic is Jesus plus therapy. It's not, we're not doing it without Jesus, and Jesus is the first factor in it all, because if we truthfully be honest, Jesus created the therapist, right? Um, and so I'm just excited to have my friends here. I'm gonna let them come on, but I want to make sure that you guys are following us. I cannot forget that as of tonight, we are live on Instagram. I gotta make sure I double check that because all these new different platforms and places to get to people. I'm super excited. We're live now on Blog Talk Radio, which we have are internationally known. So we are live in many different places. And again, I pray tonight that this conversation will be a blessing to you. Like and share, tag somebody, bring some people into the room. Don't be greedy and hold it for yourself. I don't want to hold any longer. I'm going to bring Jeri on. I'm going to bring Miss Annie on. And last but not least, bringing Shardel to the building. Ladies, how are you guys doing this evening?
Not bad.
Not
Not,
bad.
hi,
Oh,
everybody. Yeah,
listen.
I feel like it's been a minute.
You feel like it has. It has been a minute. Let me make sure I'm gonna pull this down so we can see everybody tonight. It has been a minute because the last show we didn't I didn't come on, I didn't do a live at all. And then I think the one before that it was me on by myself. So it has been a minute, but I'm excited to have you ladies back in the room. It's so funny because it's like I just saw y'all. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just saw y'all. Like I just seen you guys, and we talking about, tonight's topic is about Jesus plus therapy. But I even want to share how the other day was therapeutic for us, how for us to get together, us to have our conversation poolside, coloring and all those things. I mean, we are some adult women that was in a room, coloring these pictures. And it was so calming. I don't know if my Annie mind sharing. The next day, I was still sleepy. I was still sleepy the next day. Like, let me sleep through. I was just so relaxed. I was like, yeah, like it was something we need to. I know it was good for me to prepare to conquer the week, and so I'm like, I just seen these people. I just seen them. But I'm glad to have you guys on tonight. And again, we are live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Blog Talk Radio. We are live in all of these places. And tonight we are coming to share perspectives. I think I even said when I sent out the message to you guys, I was saying that it's totally up to you if you want to, what level of sharing you want to do, because we are all believers. We all love the Lord. And we have heard the conversation here and there about, how therapy can be demonized. I mean, for Shardel, you are a whole therapist, right? You're a whole therapist. And even being in places where it's like, how effective your work is and how it can greatly assist someone. But then you seeing people that probably they ain't even had the experience of therapy to demonize it. They just ain't going. And if
Right.
we honestly be truthful, it don't even have nothing to do with therapy. It is us culturally um just afraid, afraid or ashamed, or that ain't nobody go call me this or call me that, or the diagnosis could be scary, or for people to know you as this thing or you went to this thing, it's a weakness, right? And so I just want us tonight to change the narrative. Me, I will admit that I go to therapy. I love the Lord. I truly believe I'm called and was, created with a purpose. But I go see a therapist weekly, and I'm not ashamed of that. If I can be honest, I feel that therapy has even helped my spiritual life. Me even grow closer to God because I've went to therapy. I feel like it has helped me spiritually in a great way. And so I don't know who's led tonight. It's not no particular order. I did want us to flow, and whoever you know want to talk about want to go first, I'll say you're more than welcome to do so. Y'all acting shy today? I mean, y'all acting shy. Y'all acting shy today.
No, usually you have a whole breakdown about your tier system and who you want to go first. So I don't think
And
we
what
were
did I tell
expecting a
y'all?
mic toss.
Who go, what the teacher say? What did I say in the message? What did I tell y'all? It was a free flow tonight. I didn't want to put a restraint on. I don't know. Tonight I just wanted it to be a free flow. I think I honestly want to say, like, where who heart was it pulling on the most? I think earlier me and Jeri had a conversation, and I was like, oh, I didn't really know what I was gonna say on the show tonight. I said, but I got it now. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, Jesus plus my therapy. I was like, I don't see how they don't want Jesus in a therapist. Jesus is my therapist when I can't talk to my therapist. Like, who I'm gonna talk to when you can't schedule the meeting? It is Jesus who is guiding me through. And I was like, oh, I'm prepared. Like, I came with my, shotgun tonight for the people. Because if I can be honest, it's upsetting. It's upsetting to hear people demonize something that they have not partaked in. And let me be clear. Let me just say this. Not all therapy is good therapy, but that's where it's up to you to pray. It's up to you to interview. It's a lot of stuff that's not good for us, and we need to interview. We need to do a background check or reviews. Y'all don't talk about me. I even review where I'm buying my hair from. It's that serious. I'm not just if you I'm even reviewing who go do my hair because I need to hear what people saying about you. You might really don't know what you're doing, and the pictures is fake. So I am saying that to say that it's totally up to us to interview, talk, and find what therapist is suitable for us. But just to make everybody a bad guy, everybody don't know this. My therapist gave me a whole preaching session the other day. I was like, I was gonna give her an offering bucket, and I don't know how I was gonna get it to her, but I was gonna give it. Like I was like, oh my god, and I kind of upset that I didn't go to therapy a long time ago, because I'm like, this is what this really about. I thought they was gonna come in here, make me feel like I'm crazy, and put me on some medication and send me on my way, like, and that's not what it is at all. And so I want the private conversations that we have together about this topic. I want us to make this public where people can be able to sit in because they watching, to be able to sit in and hear about what our experience is. And like I said, Shardel, more definitely for you because you are a whole therapist. And the last time I checked, you was saved. You know, last time I checked
Uh,
you, you
you
got a
know what?
relationship with the Lord.
I'm not
So
about to play with
I'm
you.
just saying, I'm
I'm not
really
about to play with you. But
the
I'll start.
last.
I'm not about to play
Okay,
with you though.
okay.
I'm gonna start with the cliche stuff. I feel like what you usually hear is people say stuff like, "Oh, well, when you're feeling sick, you go to the doctor. When you have a toothache, you go to the dentist. When you feel like spiritually you're disconnected, you go to God." And a lot of people don't recognize like their brain is one of the biggest muscles in your body, and we use it all the time, whether that's consciously or unconsciously. And so who do you go to for your brain? Like, who do you go to work your brain muscle, to get the negative things that go on in your mind out? Because a lot of times, and we've talked about this, like what happens in your mind will manifest in your body. And so if we say, okay, well, we know all of the lanes and all of the people who we go to and all of the specialties, specialists we need. Oh, my foot's hurting, I need to go to an orthopedic doctor. Oh, you have all of these go-tos. And then when it's like, okay, well, what about your thoughts? What about how you're thinking through certain things or how you're processing things? Nobody automatically says, oh, well, I should go to a therapist. Because, like you said, it's been so demonized to make you feel like you have to be crazy, you have to have something crazy going on in your life or traumatic that's going on in your life to talk to somebody. And the go-to is like, well, I can talk to my friends, I can talk to my parents, I can talk to my partner. And it's like, these people are not objective. All of these people have investments in your life, they have emotions wrapped up. Some of them don't want to see you grow, some one of them want to keep you in the pot that you're in the in the well that you're in. Not everybody is looking for the outcome that you don't even know that you're looking for. And so therapy is an interesting thing because, like you said before, therapy and Jesus are two completely separate components. The things that we can hand to the Lord when we're praying, when we're going to Him, when we're looking for direction, guidance, relief of whatever it is that we're feeling, these are things that we lack control of, where you're like, okay, Lord, I'm giving this stuff to you. I can think through it a million times. I can write it out. I can journal about it. I can do all of these things, but in my own power, I am incapable. But then there's also a lot of things where we are fully present and fully capable of doing. How we think about things, how we loop things in our mind. Yes, we can pray and say, Lord, take these thoughts from me, but there's also an action that we have to do as people to work these things out, to kind of get to the root of why we're even having these thoughts or these feelings in the first place. And so I feel like part of the experience of looking for a therapist, because I always say therapy is like kissing frogs. Every therapist is so different. Their background is different. What they came from is different. What they believe in is different. And so if you're coming in from a Christian perspective or a lover of God perspective, and then you're just out talking to whoever, you don't know what they're feeding you. You don't know what pot they're coming from to try to fill you. And you kind of have to have discernment, and the discernment you have with God, honestly, to be able to say, like, is this person the right person for me? Are they giving me what I need to nourish all of me? Or is it just like a halfway situation? Because ultimately, therapists can pour really negative stuff into you. The wrong therapist could make you doubt yourself. The wrong therapist could have you thinking things that are outside of your own thought process because you're trusting these people to give you insight. And I feel like as a Christian therapist, because I don't go around saying like, oh, I believe in God, let me be your Christian therapist. But I am a Christian. And so that's what's in me that comes out of me. So for me, it's like, okay, if I'm your therapist, and even people will say, like, I don't believe in God, and I don't, what you believe in has nothing to do with what I can achieve. It doesn't have anything to do with what I can give you, the energy, the love, the affirmation, the support, all of the things that I have in me to give to you has nothing to do with what you feel. However, you kind of have to recognize like those are the people who are looking out for your best interests. Those are the people who are like, hey, I can see one of the things I guess God, not I guess, I know that God has given me in this role is vision. I can see ahead for a lot of things. And I know Browniesha can attest to this. She'll be talking to me about something and I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, I'm already ahead of you. And I'll ask her the direct question that will get her ahead where I'm at. And she's like, dang, Shardel, how did you do that? Like, this is just what has been instilled in me that I have the ability to see beyond mess. And so I feel like Browniesha said, it's kind of like you can't say Jesus is not in the midst of this. You can't say, oh, well, I can go to therapy and the Jesus thing is pushed to the side because it's all interconnected. If you actually say, like, hey, I can go to this person to deal with my physical body, I can go to the Lord to deal with my spiritual, my healing, my support, my all of these things that I can't get from anybody else. And then I can go to a therapist to really hash out what I'm thinking, how I'm navigating my day to day stuff. You'll see that it doesn't take away from anything that you have going on in your spiritual life. In fact, it should help it. It should help you realize, like, hey, the Lord brought this person into my life to address these certain things. I put me in this position where maybe I wasn't thinking about this earlier today. Then something dropped on me, and I'm like, let me take this to my therapist or whatever the case is, because you don't know what channels God is allowing you to go through to get the healing and the support that you need. And a lot of times it is having a therapist or a coach or whatever said person is to be able to say, like, okay, this is the person who God called to speak to me, to speak to my soul, to speak to the things that are interrupting my thought processes. Um, and I feel like if you look at it that way, it's not so scary because then you can trust that God is not going to put people in your path that are going to take you astray, that He's actually going to present you with therapists and leaders who can say, like, oh, okay, well, this is the area you're supposed to be in. This is what they will address, because not all therapists address everything either. You can go to a therapist for one specific thing, thinking that's all you need. You discharge from that person, and the next thing you know, something else pops up. And you have to talk to somebody else. And that's okay, because again, everybody has a lane. Everybody has their strengths and everybody has their weaknesses based on their own growth, their own education standards, their own ability to navigate life, their own trauma. Um, because again, you can only give what you have inside. And so if you're expecting for Jesus and therapy to work hand in hand, you have to find somebody who believes the same thing and who can put you in the position to say, okay, both of these things align. Whether we pray in our session, we end our session in prayer, I keep you in my prayer, whatever the situation is, that you know that this person is all around looking at you and for you and looking out for you.
I was going to start talking and still on mute. I'll say this and definitely allowing someone else to speak. Chardell sat up there and said that we literally on Saturday we was in the car and I was like, "Hey, I need to share this with you really quick because I'm trying to figure some stuff out. I thought I had mastered this thing. I had this thing right, and then here we are with all of this craziness, and not necessarily calling it crazy, but it just I felt displaced." And she was sitting over there. She was thinking for a long time, like, I was like, is she gonna say something? Because I'm ready to get to them. And she over there like she was in her thinking room or something while she was driving. And then when she opened her mouth, she was just a boom and a boom and a boom, boom, boom. So it was like just saying, given to what she did say, yeah, I'm grateful to God for her ability because um it has definitely helped me. It's some insight she have would have never thought or be like, really that? So yeah, therapy is great. And so I don't know if it want you guys want me to lead you. So I don't know if Annie or Jeri, which one of you want to go ahead and share tonight about your experience by way what therapy? Have you ever
Um,
done therapy or whatever part you wanted to share? Can you hear me?
well, I was gonna say all I had for a long. Can you hear me?
Uh huh.
Okay. For a long time, all I had was Jesus. I didn't have therapy for a very, very long time. And I didn't actually see a therapist until my grandmother passed away and I was pregnant. And so then I I noticed that I was bottling up my feelings to protect my child, right? Like you don't want the trauma to come onto your baby. So after I had her, I turned into this. I don't even know what I turned into. It was a monster, I want to say, because it was just there were so many emotions. Like one day I'm crying because I'm grieving, and then the next day I'm crying because I'm in postpartum, and then the next day like I'm crying because it's postpartum, and the next day is grieving. So it was like this ongoing cycle of just like a lot of tears, and because I have other children, I couldn't stop. So I said, you know what? I think I need to see a therapist. And it was actually my WIC. It was the WIC lady that was working with me. She's like, you know what? I think you should see a therapist. And we would just talk. Like we ended up building a relationship. And she would just let me vent. We would start having appointments. We weren't supposed to have appointments because she would just let me talk. So after that, I found a therapist, and I didn't really know she was in ministry and a Christian until I started talking about ministry. Through my insurance, they just kind of gave me a therapist. And so when after I said my spiel of, what I want to talk about, what's going on, oh, where'd she go? There
I'm
she go.
here. I'm trying to fix my light. You okay?
Okay.
I'm
All
trying to
right.
fix
I'm like,
your
oh
light.
no, we lost her. Mayday, mayday. So I started giving my spiel about ministry, and she said, well, you know how it is in ministry. When you have one person doing this and you're doing that and you're a PK, and she started using all this lingo, and I was like, oh, someone understands. So I really felt God was in therapy with me, like literally he assigned me to her because I don't, and now I can't find her because I've been looking for it. And I just mentioned the other day, I said, I think I need to go back because it's so much happening in my life right now. And not that people can't be trusted, but sometimes you need like a vault that can just know all of your stuff without it being judged, without it being talked about, or it being brought up later. Because sometimes it is good if I could talk to Annie, Shardel, Browniesha, we could talk to each other and you'd be like, hey, how is this or how is that? And sometimes for me, I don't want you to ask me how I'm doing. I just want to get it out and it's over. Like it's done. We're done with it. And sometimes with a therapist, they'll just say, hey, how are you doing today? And if you don't bring it up, they don't bring it up, unless they feel the need to. And now I've even have my daughter in therapy, my oldest daughter, because it's so important when I see her emotions everywhere. There's a lot of changes in her life that are taking place for the both of us. And it's like, yeah, you can always talk to mommy, but you need to be able to talk to someone else that can maybe lead your words, lead your feelings. Because a lot of times it's, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I feel this way. I just feel this way. And so I'm like, just tell me. Like, you start getting that mama mode, like, well, what's going on? Because now you're concerned. But the therapists have ways to say, whatever they say, their clever thoughts and how God leads them. And even with her therapist, she's very happy. At first, I was kind of watching a little hard because it was a guy, but his techniques of them coloring, which is something that we do, like our coloring. So he colors with her through their online sessions, and that way she's very comfortable. And then he just lets her talk. And I've seen the difference. They've only had 3 sessions, but I've seen the difference in her being able to express herself. Even when she's like talking to me, it's like, you know what, mom, I think I'm just going to go and color, or I'll just find her somewhere coloring. So now he's giving her a tool when she's like, all, her emotions all over the place. So now I can just color, calm myself down, find my words. So therapy came after Jesus for me. But I enjoy it. I encourage it. My mother's in therapy now too. You know, it's slowly like leaking out on everybody. Like it's like splashing on everybody. So my sister just finished her therapy, so it's just kind of, and now everybody's eyes are open because it's like you were stating earlier. There's this stigma that it's bad, and if you're in therapy, you're crazy. And it's like, no, I'm actually in therapy, so I won't be crazy, and I won't be crazy with you. So let me go and get my emotions out and talk about it and get the tools that I need. And I still do my steps, you know, the 1, 2, 3 step, or take a break. I'm learning more so now how to set those clear boundaries, because my therapist did. She was the one that taught me the most about boundaries, and it's helped a lot. It's helped me to overcome a lot. And I found it weird that I didn't really cry over my grandmother like that. Now I just like smile. If there are moments where I miss her or I see something, I'm not like, oh, I'm like, man, like my granny, you know, like she helped me to channel and get through grief. So I'm not like at step 1 of grief, I'm at step 9, where I'm at this end, and now I can be able to enjoy my grandmother and not long for her in a way that is detrimental to my life and to the people around me. So that's Jesus and therapy for Jeri. I'm out.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I mean, the fact that what I love is, girl, it's like when I got up this morning, and I'm going to equate them to be the same for the sake of this conversation. I kept hearing in my spirit the scripture. I believe I want to say it's an Acts. I could be wrong, but where he says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, right? And so just going out and spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's like, one thing I've known when I come to find out about Jesus and how he's this healer, I just wanted everybody to get Jesus like me because he's a healer. And I hear you saying like, okay, I didn't went to therapy, and no, therapy is not Jesus, but we truly believe that he put this thing in place for you, right? So you can heal. And so you're not being a gatekeeper to that therapy can potentially help you heal. Because if you also be honest, you got to go about way of therapy the right way. If you lying to your therapist, you ain't finna be like, you gonna be stuck. So you got to be truth and transparent about what you're actually feeling and going through. But it is a blessing to hear you just said your mama, your sister, your daughter. So now Jeri didn't got a taste of something that now you want to share with your family, and now they get to be able to say, you gave the example of your grandmother passing away. And even though death, especially to our grandmothers, it can be detrimental. But because you did this thing that was put in place, it has assisted you and it has helped you. So now you are offering it to them, and they may, because it's guaranteed we go face some type of tragedy in life. But now they have the tools and the skills to implement, because now they're in therapy too. I mean, even for your daughter, you saying coloring. So now coloring can be something that she goes to, and it can be therapeutic for her. But if we keep demonizing these things when we find ourselves hurt, true, we could pray, but there's something else that we can do, because the Bible also says, um, faith without works is dead. And I truly believe that in the works, that therapy is a part of that. I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to include therapy in my works, that I can have faith that God will heal me and do a thing. But if I don't put the right things in place, then I can find myself very well stuck in the place that I've been, because I haven't did my part, because we're in partnership with him. And so I just wanted to say that before we let Miss Annie take the stage. And Annie always come with some heavy hitter stuff. So I'm just, I don't know. Go on, say whatever you gonna say. She finna lay down the scripture, the foundation, and take us home.
That's far too much. That's like, that's all. That's far too much.
Now, Shardel, don't she be coming on with the stuff though?
I am not about to put Annie on the chopping block. Let Annie,
that is not even
let
chopping.
Annie come with her wisdom.
Where's Ricky? Where's Ricky? Ricky had my back.
She just said that Annie comes with the wisdom. It's what I mean. It's
Ricky
the
always had my back.
Okay,
Um,
this is not in this vicinity. Okay.
I think that if you are a pillar in your church, um, and that means you are there when the door is open, you're there when the door is closed, you are the one that you had been in every ministry, you've done all of the things. You need somewhere to put all of that stuff. God's people can be difficult to deal with, right? Not because they're wrong or bad or anything like that, but um, it can be difficult to kind of like deal with. So I think that it's important to go and figure out, like Shardel was saying, figure out your why. Why do you think the way that you do? I think sometimes they make it seem as if therapy is the absence of Jesus, or um, that your relationship with Him is so, where God is like so like up and down, to where a therapist can come in and completely change how you feel about the Lord. If that's what you're thinking, something's wrong there. If you feel like your foundation isn't strong enough to where somebody could come in and kind of denounce everything that you know about Christ, that's a problem, because that's not what it's for. And usually, like Shardel was saying, that therapy is a hospital for your head. Therapy is also support. We need support. All of this, I got it on my own, and like, no, everyone at some point needs support. Therapy is support, right? If you don't have your friends, you can't talk to anybody, and all that other stuff. And then sometimes the stuff that you do have, you don't want to put that on anyone, right? Especially if you are a pillar of the church. There are things that you know, things that you've heard about people, things that you got to pray for, and all of these things. You are literally the one that's the vote. You got to get that out. Because if not, like Chardell said, it'll show up other places. So I think that therapy isn't the absence of Jesus at all. Like that would actually be crazy to me.
Right.
I think that one thing that I did realize, once I realized that I needed to go to therapy, was I was just really sad. Like, grief brought about this sorrow within me that I didn't like understand what to do with it. And I was so sad that I thought it was demonic. And I'm like, you gotta be, you know what I mean? Like, I thought it, because I was just so sad. And then the way that God like kind of carried me through that thing, um, and led me to therapists, to therapy, or to talk to a therapist, like Browniesha said, it kind of helped with my relationship with him. So um, that's pretty much all I got. I don't think that, therapy is anything wrong with you going to kind of get your head checked, especially if, one, you are older and in your 40s. You've been in your body for 40 years. You've been thinking the way you've been thinking for 40 years. You've been eating the way you've been eating, unless you've been changing some things up. So there's nothing wrong with going to get some maintenance, like, at all. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And then here's the thing: do it in secret. You don't have to tell everybody you're going to therapy, right? Because some people are not going to understand it. The moment that mentioned that I was going to get therapy, a lot of people was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go find out." Period. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Something's wrong, and you gotta know that something. I bet y'all got to know there's something wrong with you, right? You have to know when something is wrong with you. No one has to tell you, like, oh, you do this. You wake up with you every single day. You know when something is wrong. Or if you have set out to be a certain type of person and you realize, like, damn, I'm angrier, I'm meaner, I'm snapping on people, like, go and get some maintenance. It is okay to be checked. It's okay for that head to be checked. Here's the thing: you don't know everything. This is what I tell my son. He's 21. I'm like, I don't have a lot of wisdom to give you, but what I will say is, do not despise wisdom, because you may know some things, but you don't know everything. And the beauty about life is getting to know things. And I think we perish from a lack of knowledge when it comes to therapy and church, because we think that it's one thing, but it's not that. And I think that it's just go get your head checked. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong. And if they're talking against your pastor, then find another therapist. If they're talking against your religion, find another therapist. You have to make sure at the end of the day that you're okay, mind, body, and spirit. And I think that God would appreciate that. Yeah.
I would even say if we truthfully be honest, I think I said it earlier when talking about um, like reviewing things and just checking people background. We really would have to put a check on people in the church and out of it. So it's universal across the board of making sure that you got the right people in your ear, making sure that you're sharing the information with the right people. So I often feel like even the people that do the demonize the therapy is because have you ever heard someone talk about something that they know they really, really want to do, but then they just don't have the balls enough to do it? So then they make it look bad because they're not the one that's doing it. And so I feel like sometimes the people that do talk against it, it's like you want to go in there, you want to figure it out, but you have this image to uphold because you've been spewing out this verbiage about that it ain't good for you. And then come to find out that you the person that go in there and it'll help you. And now you gotta which you don't have to, but then you got to come back and tell people like, oh, I was wrong about that. Because me, I'm never going to say that I've ever looked at therapy um like a bad thing. I honestly, and this may sound crazy, I feel like I just didn't have time for it because I was in survival mode, so nobody had time to try to find a stranger. And then if you're traumatized enough, you probably don't want these people in your business, right? So it's so many different things, but I'm telling you, because I say I'm gonna be raw here, as I always tend to be raw. When I did go to therapy, I feel like it was like a cliff moment for me. It was like it was all hopes lost. Like I had to figure out something. I also even had a conversation with God before even going in that direction because I was like, Lord, now they say you all of these things, and I'm doing all of the routine which of church. I was like, but stuff ain't changing. Like what's going on? And so what I had to understand of with God is that I had a relationship with him. I didn't have to do the religious tactics and all those other things. And that's when I feel like I was free to get the help. I literally um I've said this before. I've literally been in temporary insanity in loving the Lord. Like I will say it. I said it often. I wrote it in the book. I remember when my father passed away that it was so bad for me that I flipped. I honestly flipped. And in that moment when I flipped, I was like, oh, knowing Jesus was just not enough. I was like, wait a minute, I have to do something different. I have to do something more. And so that's where I was like, okay, God, I can't be the only person because I know how much I love him. And I couldn't be the only person that this was happening to. It just, I wasn't going to isolate myself and was like, it's just me. Can't nobody else feel this? But it made me investigate and dig a little deeper on what needed to happen. And I think Annie just said, like, you know something going on in your head. And I knew that something was going on in my head. And I won't even say that I needed to be fixed because me being fixed wasn't the thing, but I needed to talk. I needed to release. I needed to talk about the stuff that I was holding inside. And we often said you it might not be good to share with a friend. It's so interesting that um a friend of mine, she just recently, I seen that she shared the post. And thank you to all of you that are sharing. I remember meeting her randomly, and I was like, Frank, I was like, listen, girl, I ain't got that kind of insurance. Like, so how much you gonna charge me for cash? And she just was like, no worries, I'm gonna meet you at Starbucks. And so I started meeting her at Starbucks, and I just was talking. Like I was just sitting, and I'm like, this what therapy is? Like you just want to talk to somebody. Now I did get mad at her after a while because she told me I had to have a funeral for a couple of things. Well, you need to have a funeral for that. And I was like, I don't know who she thinks she is telling me what I needed to do. But just long story short, I realized that it wasn't as bad as it had been. People made it. Like it wasn't the devil. It wasn't like it wasn't all these crazy things that I thought that it was made out to be because I was listening to everybody else. I'm so serious. Even if I can be technical, I won't give her name here. But God even told me he was sending so he was like, I'm sending somebody to you with this name. And he was like, and talking, and there is going to forever change your life. And so, because of what her name was, I'm telling my friend, like, oh, well, God's sending somebody for you. And I think 3, 6 months later, I looked up and She came into my life randomly, and after sitting there going to Starbucks for a few times, and it was free, y'all. She didn't charge me. Now, I was sliding money in her cash up after a while because I wasn't just going to let her do that for me and me not sow a seed because I was very appreciative that me having this conversation, I felt like I was getting lighter. And so because now that I found it for myself, like you too, Jeri, where you said like now I tell my mama, I got my mama's in therapy. That was me. Now I was like, wait a minute, let me run and tell you about a man named Jesus that's gonna point you to therapy because Jesus literally told me that he was sending this person into my life and that my life will be forever changed. In my life, from that moment, me going to talk to her and realizing that things were wrong in my life and they weren't necessarily my fault, but there was a part that I had to play to get better. Since then, my life is not the same. Like it's not the same. Even though now I'm in therapy, because I think it's going to be a continuous thing, y'all. We're going to continuously come up against stuff. We're going to continuously have to work through things, and we had the conversation that healing is messy. We had the conversation that healing is not linear. You're not going to get to a place like I'm just all fixed and nothing else is going to happen and I'm not going to need to talk through something through. And even having to talk it through, it doesn't make us weak. It doesn't mean that we don't believe in God. It doesn't mean that God is not present. It is just another part of what God is given to us by way as a tool to heal and to grow in Him. And Annie even she shared it where therapy has definitely made my relationship with God better because there was a lot of stuff that I was just making up that wasn't even true. Like it was just stuff that wasn't even true. We be frank. I feel like growing up, I had like this, I had parental issues. God is the representation of a father. And God told me because I didn't have trust for my natural father, he was like, you putting that on me. Like you don't want to trust me because you couldn't trust him. And so being able to separate the two and work through it, it has definitely drew me closer to God. Like me and him is like thick and Steve. I don't know if he gets tired of me talking to him all day because I do. But I just really want to stress that therapy is not it's not the it's not a death sentence. Like it's not, oh, I'm gonna go in there. It's not a death sentence. It really is life changing. If you might gotta work through and Shardel say you gotta go through the frogs. I mean, but you gotta do to go through the frogs through some other stuff
For a lot
too.
of things.
For a lot of things. It's a lot of stuff. Like it is. I mean, if we be honest, we've separated therapy from other things, but in order to be healthy, there's a work you have to do. You got to eat right. If you want financially, if you want your financial life to be better, there's a work you have to do. So it's in different parts of our life because we are layered. There is a work that you have to do, and it is someone outside of yourself, outside of God, that He's going to send to help you do it. And so don't don't kill yourself off because I'm being honest with you. If you don't get the help you need, eventually you will be walking around here like the Walking Dead. Because if you're not
Yeah.
say that again,
or hurting other people.
yeah,
Because
because it's so. Sometimes I don't even. I mean, outside of even a therapist pointing certain things out, you don't even realize that some of the stuff you're doing is just unhealthy
Mhm.
because we've now made dysfunction functional. We've made it normal, and some of the, turning up on people. That ain't cute. Like it's something is wrong here.
I was gonna say because I've been writing down notes so I don't lose track of my thoughts.
Okay.
I feel like the reason why a lot of people stay away from therapy is because a lot of people haven't grown up with space to express how they feel.
yeah.
And so to hear somebody say, "Oh, well, you'll get to come into this space and it'll just be you and I, and really the space is just for you." Because I know Browniesha and I have talked about it. Unethical therapists will use your therapy space to talk about themselves. And even though sometimes it is relevant to self disclose, to say certain things, to like draw points together, that 60 minutes or 50 minutes or however the therapist works their time is really about you. And I think a lot of people are very uncomfortable with knowing that there is space for them and only them. And so I feel like what it reminds me of is the fact that God is always telling us like he wants intimate time with us. And he wants to have that one-on-one like intimacy with us and that connection with us, but we ourselves don't know how to do that. We have all of these distractions, and our own thoughts are our distractions, our own feelings are our distractions. And then when somebody says, okay, well, even the simple, like, tell me about yourself. A lot of people get so hung up on, like, well, I don't even know where to start with that. Like, anything. Tell me anything about yourself. And even when it comes to therapy, you walk in thinking, like, oh, this person's going to think I'm crazy, or this person's not going to understand how I feel. And like Jeri said, and then you'll start talking, and the person is like, oh, yeah, I understand that completely. You know, I've been through that, or I know how that felt, or I've gone through this. And then all of a sudden you feel like, oh, okay, well, this person does feel familiar. Because a lot of times you're thinking like, oh, I'm just talking to some random Susie and she's never going to understand and she's never going to. And it's like, no, there are so many people out there who do understand that it's your negative thought process about it that's stopping you from accessing these people. And I think part of why it's easier to say like, okay, well, after you kind of can come to yourself in therapy, why that would connect you so much to God is because now you are okay and in tune with yourself. Whereas before, with your distractions, with you not wanting to be emotionally connected to your experiences or whatever, you are disconnecting God from a lot of it because he is hand in hand with your life. And so if you can actually sit in a room, even if it's in silence, when I was working with my clients, I had a young girl who had gone through this trauma. Her brother ended up shooting himself in her apartment. And so she came in and all she wanted to do was just sit there. Like Jeri was saying, we can use coloring, we can play cards, we can do arts and crafts. Like there's so many different things we can do to distract you in therapy to get you to feel comfortable talking. But you have some people who are like, I don't really want to do any of that. I don't have the capacity, I don't have the energy to do any of these things. And so as a therapist, your support is silence. Your support is just sitting there and letting them know, like, hey, I'm here. Whenever you're ready to speak, I'm here to listen. I'm here to help. I'm here to be silence for you if that's what you need. Because a lot of times, and especially for her environment was not silent. Her environment was very noisy. People around her were grieving as well. There was no space for her to say, this is how I feel. And I think even in that silence, she was trying to process how it was she felt. Because there was that space for her to say, like, nobody is asking me questions. Nobody is dumping on me what they feel. It's kind of like, this is for me. And I think if more people recognize, like, we really don't have that space. Even if you say you have great friendships, great relationships, whatever the case is, there's still an element in you that's like not you. Like I'll, be talking to my husband about something and I can still reserve a lot of what I say because I'll tell him all the time, if I tell you something that's too deep for me, then you worry. Now I got to worry about you being worried. And now I'm not so much focused on myself because now I'm focused on you. And I shouldn't have to tailor how I feel or how I say certain things, even though I love you and you're my best friend and all of these things. The component of you who's like, I'm also your husband. And if you tell me something that's stressing you out, now I feel like it's not about you. It's really about me being able to have space to express without the expectation, without the pressure, without anything, to be able to say, like, what is it that I'm really feeling? What can I really do about it? What support do I need to get through it? And that extra person is like, they're not going to be the same people who've been in your ear. Like, I think Annie's the one who said it. The people who've been in your ear for 40 years, the people who have been around you, your best friends since middle school. Like, okay, now you're 40 and you've been hearing the same people going through the same experiences. People who've been with you this whole time, they're seeing your experiences from their framework. Whereas if you go to somebody who doesn't know you, who is objective, there is no framework. They're just looking at you. You, what you say, you with your thoughts, the unspoken things, the body language, they're looking at who you present yourself as in that moment. And I think so many people are so afraid of who they are right now that they don't feel comfortable going to a therapist to allow the therapist to see them for who they are. It's easier to navigate in a space that they're unfamiliar with because that's how you get along with people. You make yourself relatable by not knowing, by being on overdrive, by putting your mask on, by doing all these things. And when you're in therapy and you take that mask off, you realize like that is not even me. Who these people out here see, all these conversations that I'm having, all of this outside stuff, like I'm not really me until I'm sitting in front of my therapist. Or I'm not really me until I'm having these conversations once a week where I'm like, dang, I didn't even know I thought like this. I didn't even know these patterns existed. I didn't know that I was sounding like so and so or that. And it's like, now what? Now that you realize that, now that you have that space, what are you going to do with it? And I think that's what people are afraid of. It's once you know, once you come into that knowledge, you have to change. You have to evolve. You have to grow. And Jesus comes in at that moment because it's like, okay, Lord, all these things have come up. I've expressed all this stuff. Like, now what? What does that mean for my spirit? What does that mean for how I walk, my walk on a day to day? Like, what does that look like? And kind of leaning on him to say, like, and I don't know what that looks like because it is a new avenue, it is a new lane. And like, what do you need from me to make sure when I'm navigating in this lane that I'm doing it correctly? And I think that's part of like the letting go of like we're told all the time, like, oh, when it comes to Jesus, you got to let go. But therapy is a let go too, where you can actually say, like, let go of all of the thoughts you have about it, all of the assumptions you have about it, and just let yourself be present in that moment to see like what really is going to come out of that.
It's interesting that it's something you just said. Did it end up? So before I say what I'm saying, getting ready to say, for those of you that are on Blog Talk, we are so grateful that you guys have tuned in. And every time that we're on air, that you're on air, I'm excited to get news that we are now, we've reached Germany. It's a blessing to reach all these places because here is just truly my intent to do what I believe that God has sent me here to do. And that is one, to set the captives free. And I believe that that does happen by way of having transparent conversations about what your journey has been like and how God has came in and how He's healed and how He's brought you out and how He's kept you. So for those of you on Blog Talk Radio, I'm excited that you guys took out the time to tune in here with us. I just ask that you follow us on all platforms, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe, follow us, and tell someone else about the Healing Clinic. I know we're going a little bit past the time where we're regularly on the show. And so thank you guys again for tuning in. We welcome all your feedback for those of you guys that are listening. Send us your thoughts. Tell us how the Healing Clinic has helped you up to this point. And so, again, I thank you, thank you, thank you. And you guys have a blessed night. And so I had that one, that part of the show was being closed off. So I wanted to make sure I did that. But it was something you said, Shardel. It was an experience I just recently had with Jeri. And it's these two pastors. They're actually twins. And so I didn't know that um I knew that the pastor had a twin, but I didn't know that man looked like him that much. And so Jeri sent me something, and when the man started talking, I was like, "Who is he?" Like it was the tone of his voice, it was the way he sound, and it was very distracting. And so he was doing an interview with his brother, so he then put his brother on the line. And so when the brother started talking, I'm like, I got confused because when the brother was talking, I felt like this soothing comfortness come over me. And I'm like, wait, I think I've been calling the wrong pastor the wrong name. However, I told Jeri, I said, you know what? I said, I can't listen to the other pastor. I said, his voice is rough. I was like, but his brother, he talks like this calmness. And Jeri said, she said, well, you know what? She said probably, she said you always are, I do everything with meditation and calmness and quietness. And she was like, that has to be your thing now because your life was so loud, and it was so complex, loud, rowdy. And so I would give anything to get into a place of a hum. And so it was in his voice where even certain sounds sound different, where I now on this journey of healing, I love calmness. Like I said, when my life was so subject to um being loud and being rowdy. And so I thank God again because to receive God in a different way because of the healing. It's if you truthfully be honest, you receive people in a different way when you healed. You don't hear or see people the same way you once saw them when you were broken because you've done the work. And it's like now the way your lens changed, the way you see things change, the way you hear things change because you've doing the work of healing. And what I do understand is it is God's sole intent that his sons and daughters be healed. We talk about Jesus going to the cross. We talk about him making a great sacrifice for us. It wasn't to put us in a place of despair, but it was to make things better for us. I always go back to this scripture where it talks about in John, where he says the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He says, but I come that you have life and life more abundantly. And having life more abundantly is walking in this space, being able to be healed, being able to have these hard conversations. Because I can even say, I think with all of you guys, even with going on this journey, I don't see none of us as the same. I don't see. I've changed over the years because the work that I've done. Shardel, I've seen things change in you. Annie, I've seen things change in you. Jeri, like all of us, we've literally been able to change. And that's because we've done a work and we've implemented in what that tool is to help us, whether it be therapy or not. But for some of us, we've allowed therapy to be the tool that assists us in healing and being able to talk. And I believe Jeri said it earlier about your therapist being your vault. Like it is that I love the fact that she said that because I saw this meme and it said somebody therapist know all about you. Like you done went into therapy talking about like somebody therapist know all about you. I died. I started dying laughing because I ain't calling my therapist name out on this live, but I be talking about the people to her. Like, I'm so sick and tired of such and such and such. So I know my therapist know about some people, right?
Yeah, not in a messy way though. Not in a messy way. Just
It
like
could be a little messy. It could no. It could be kind of messy.
that's
That's why we love the therapist.
that's
Because if you allow it to get a little messy and your therapist can still hold that and like see through that, top tier therapist.
Listen, um what's that Chris Tucker on Friday? That's my dog. That's my dog. That's my therapist is my dog. I honestly I bless God. I bless God for her. And again, I just want to encourage people. It's not a force. It's definitely these things are put here as a suggestion for you to try it out. Or try and see if it works for you. If it don't, then it don't. But
yeah,
you can very well go in there and it change your life.
we keep asking God for change. We go to the altar and we're like, change me, God. Please change me, Lord. I don't want to do it the same no more, God. If you had those encounters with God, you're like, I don't want to do it no more. I don't want to sin no more. Lord, take the taste out of my mouth, Jesus. Lord, blind my eyes, Lord. Like we just be saying all of these things. And if you go to a therapist, they can help you understand your appetite, right? And then they'll give you the tools to change because we're looking for God to wake up in the morning. And that is the thing for some people. You wake up in the morning like, nigga, I just don't want to smoke no more. Like that's just what it is. I don't want to smoke no more. And then you stop. But for some people, it's Jeri said she don't know what happened. For some people,
Her screen is dark. I don't know. I feel like she had got like a call or something and it might have knocked her off. But her screen keeps going dark. Maybe I don't know if you can hear.
she said she can
Uh,
hear, but she can't see.
okay. So probably log all the way out and then come back in because for whatever reason, yeah. So she logged out. So yeah.
Yeah. So what I was pretty much saying is the change has to start with you, and I know that it's not easy. I remember when I was talking to my therapist, and I was like telling her like something happened and I did this instead of that. And she was like, did you realize that you just used the tools? Did you realize that? I was like, nigga, I did not realize that. Like, oh, thank you very much. I didn't even know, because you just, sometimes you don't know. And I was like, oh, my mind automatically switch to the healed thing, switch to the healthy thing. It didn't switch to the negative thoughts or anything like that. It was like, nigga, I may be on to something. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it was working until it was working.
I didn't know. I was like, oh shit, nigga, like you may have died, bet. Like you're different. You're a little different. You're thinking differently. And when I felt that change, when I tell y'all I gave glory to God, because that's when you like, didn't nobody else do that but you. Nobody else led me to this place where I can get these healthy tools to help me deal with my negative attitude. Or when I'm angry, I tend to lash out at this one person, and I'll be trying not to lash out at him, but I just do it anyway. But whatever, he loved me anyway, I think. So therapy kind of helped me to realize, like, every time you're upset, that's where you go. You lash out on him. And I was like, okay, all right, bet. So now I know what it is that I need to work on. And so those are the things that you take to God. God, I realize when I'm angry, I cuss people out, I say things that I don't mean, and there's nothing like going back and having to apologize. I'm not the type of nigga that like to apologize. I'm sorry. I may be my pride, right? I'm working on my pride too. But it's hard sometimes, and we have to go back and eat that. So now I'll be like, listen, let me make sure my words are straight up front, so I ain't got to come back and say I'm sorry to anything, right? And so therapy can help you not have to be sorry all the time, not have to always have to go back and say, my bad, I didn't mean to do it like that. You get it from the top, like off rip, when you're in a healed place. And I don't think that God is he's worried about you as a whole, like everything concerning you. God is worried about that. Right? He said he's not going to have any other God before him. Are you placing your therapist above God and making him a God? No, absolutely not. Why? Because they're human. That's just weird. And I think with therapy and Jesus, only one of those things can exist without the other. Jesus is the only thing that exists without therapy. Jesus is the thing that you need. This is where you ground yourself in that, right? Therapy is an additive. It's something that you add on to this, right? It's not something that it's not leading the cart, right? Jesus is leading, right? He is the one that's leading. So I think that, and a lot of us, when we grow up in church, it's about a lot of emotionalism, a lot of emotions, and therapy can help you deal with those emotions, right? Because we have a lot of it, and it's not going to be, my therapist said something, I was like, oh Lord, shit about my shit. It's not going to be that. Like, it's just not. It's probably not. It's not. Probably really isn't going to be that. It's not. Probably not going to get that. But in therapy, you'll get something like, oh man, my grandma, okay, so she did that, and that's the reason why I'm doing that. I don't want to do that no more, right? But what's happening? Is everybody okay? What are y'all doing?
We laughing at you.
What you talking about? What you mean?
Continue. We're with you.
I don't want to talk to y'all no more. I'm done.
No, you're doing fine. Don't
wait. You just went into a whole time about that whole little thing, and then you gonna talk about what's wrong with us. What do you mean?
Because I was like, wait, what's going on with everybody? But yeah, there, yeah, whatever, y'all.
No, I mean, no. It's really good what you're saying, because I'm telling you, I'm gonna say this. I don't go into therapy leading that I'm pastor, prophet, whoever. That I am those things in God. But I told my therapist just the other day, I come as in my humanity. Like, help me with my humanity. I don't want to come and be pulling rank in a therapy session like that. For like, it ain't gonna get me nowhere, because at the end of the day, I'm a flawed individual, and there's some stuff that I got going on that need help. So, we all have a heavenly language. But going in there speaking in tongues is not gonna fix the problem. Since Annie, I mean, she did the whole little spiel just now. Like,
Not that I'm saying that's not gonna fix the problem, because I'm not saying there's anything wrong with speaking in tongues, and I don't want to make light of that, because I do believe that it's an amazing thing. But I also believe that we have to learn how to separate the things, not take away Jesus. If you are not walking into the store, Chick-fil-A, letting everybody know you're a prophet, is like, you don't need to do that. That's kind of like actually crazy, right? But at the same time, when you do go to, like Browniesha saying, when you go to therapists, you go as who you are, and then you can tell them, as a prophet, these are the things that I see. How am I supposed to deal with people when I see their future, right? When I see that they're headed towards a certain way, what am I supposed? Because listen, having being a prophet, having prophetic dreams, that's not like light. That's serious, because that's a spiritual realm, and if you're not careful, it can mess up your psyche. It really, really can. And so you can have somebody that can keep you grounded as a human, letting you know, like, yeah, you may have these abilities spiritually, but you're not Superman, and you're not going to jump from here to the top of the, like, you're still a human, right? You are still a human. Yes, you do have all of these gifts, and that is amazing, but the human part of you, how are those gifts showing up with you being a human? Are you a prophetess that is mean? Right? Like, are you a mean prophet? Are you a mean evangelist? Are you standing on a corner yelling at everybody, telling them that they need Jesus, because on the inside you feel like you are in some level of right standing and perfect? Like, therapy will help you with all that. It really,
Yeah.
really will. It will get you to understand you and how you operate, like I said, as a therapist, or operate as an Amazon driver, or operate as, the person that drops the kids off at school. Like, how are you showing up in life? Like, how are you showing up? Therapy will help you with that.
I feel like growing up as a Christian, we're always told like we have a cross that we carry, a cross that we bear all the time. And I feel like the church doesn't teach you, like, yes, you have this cross to carry, but life will keep making it heavy. And so we are conditioned to say, oh, well, if this is our cross, we have to carry it. Oh, Jesus is walking with us, or he's not going to abandon us. And we know that. Those are things that we know to our core. But then when it gets heavy, then what? Like, you can pray and say, Lord, take the pain away, take it away. But it's life. It's literally what our physical being is walking through on the day-to-day basis. And it's not enough to just say, oh, well, I know my load is heavy. Oh, I know this is my cross to bear. Because also, like, God says he doesn't want you to bear that. Like, he literally says, like, I don't want you to worry. I don't want you to be anxious. He literally puts in the Bible in so many different forms all of these things that we keep conditioning ourselves to say, well, I'm supposed to feel that. That's part of the Christian experience. I'm supposed to oh, well, yeah, there's people in the pews who got their little attitudes, but I'm supposed to go through that. That's a part of and it's like, no, it's not. Like, if it doesn't feel good, that's not what he wanted you to do. He doesn't necessarily want you to, he didn't want to do it. Like, if we're being honest, he didn't want to bear that cross. He knew he had to do it, but it wasn't something he wanted to do. And even on the cross, he literally was like, why have you left me? Why have you forsaken me? Because ultimately it was like, Lord, you also said I wasn't supposed to hold this. And now here I am with the physical wooden cross on my back. And so I feel like as Christians, I feel like baby Christians to Christianity are learning about it very differently than people who grew up in Christianity. People who have been embedded and instilled with these things, because we feel like, oh, well, I'm supposed to feel this. I'm supposed to feel burdened. Oh, well, this was my grave that I dug up. I'm supposed to lay in it. And it's like, no, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want that. And if you aren't able to finally say, like, maybe God is providing you this outlet so that you don't have such a heavy burden, so that you can actually look at life the way he wanted you to look at life, with joy, with peace, with understanding, with all of these things. And we're so fixated on, oh, well, this is our cross to bear. Then you're missing the whole point of the experience that God wanted us to be in the first place. Because really what we're doing is navigating in such a negative space where we're really not enjoying the fruits of our labor. We're not able to actually do the things that he positioned for us to have, because we're so caught up in the world. We're so caught up in life and strife, when that's right. That's demonic in itself. Like Annie said, like you're not supposed to have the spirit of sadness. You're not supposed to have the spirit of depression. It is demonic. So for you to actually say, like, you know what, I can recognize this was not where God set out for me. Then you being able to say, like, how can I go to somebody to release this, to let this go so that I can actually live in my purpose or live in my peace or whatever the case is, that's where therapy comes in.
Yeah, because there are a lot of depressed Christians.
So
Y'all want to be honest. There are
anxious
a lot of
Christians.
depressed.
I mean, it's crazy.
Christians because we feel like because I am a Christian, then I'm not supposed to be feeling this way because that means that maybe I'm not doing
I'm
enough.
not as faithful.
I'm not as faithful. Maybe I'm not going to church enough. I'm not in my word enough.
Not as connected. All these negatives.
Right? It's always the negative things, and this God is just like, yeah, that's not it, because you're thinking that you have to live up to, like, if you are going through something or you are depressed, and that means that God is mad at you, or
he's left you at some level,
or it's your sin. It's your sin. It's your sin. Yeah, God saves us from sin and not the consequence of it. So you're gonna have to go through whatever you chose to do, whatever you're gonna have to go through that, right? But what I think we have to understand is that when we talk about the valleys that we're in, depression is a valley, man. Depression is a valley of highs and lows. And if you don't take that to God, like, listen, I am sad for no freaking reason. It is a Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sad. I'm waking up sad. Depression, listen, y'all, that is a battle of the mind. It's like the prison of your mind, right? Like you're being imprisoned in your mind. And if you feel like the church is saying you can't go to Jesus because, you know, clearly you've done something wrong, so he has taken himself away from you because you're depressed, where am I supposed to go with that? What am I supposed to do if I feel like I have no one? I'm battling these thoughts in my mind. I can't go to God. I tell my people, they tell me to go to God, and then other people telling me I can't go to God, right? I'm not talking to a therapist. I can't tell my best friend because this, whatever is on me, is a really, really dark and deep. What do you do with that? You self-medicate, right? You go have 1,001 kids that you cannot take care of, right? Because you're looking, and sex is a cope mechanism. Whether people want to, sex is a cope mechanism, right? So you'll do all of these things because you are and you're thinking that you're in the wrong. And that's another thing that we do as Christians. We always put us in the condemnation seat. You're wrong. You're wrong. Listen, life can throw curveballs at you that you didn't even know that you were going to like experience. My testimony, what happened to me that day, had I not already been in some level of therapy trying to work on my mental, that mess would have took me out. Jesus or not, it would have took me out, because what the hell just happened to me, right? So does that mean that God doesn't love me because I got shot, right? Right? Is that the absence of God protection because a bullet hit my body? No. Was I in the wrong because of this, that, and the third? It's like, we have to make sure that first you keep God in the center of it all. But this condemnation thing and this thing of like feeling like depression is something that Christians are not supposed to be experiencing. There are a lot of great men of God, and that's why you guys should be praying for them. I'm praying for them too. But great men of God that are in these powerful positions but are depressed, that are severely depressed. Why? Because they're grieving. They lose their loved ones, but yet they have to still get up and preach the word of God to you, right? They have their bills, they have their issues, and all. A lot of people are dealing with depression. Nigga, millions of people died during the pandemic. Everybody needs their head checked. From the mailman to the freaking people at the grocery store, everybody needs their head. People died at a record number. Everybody, it was the Illuminati. Oh, it was Jesus. Oh, it was this. It don't matter. Everybody dead. That's what we do, right? We do know everybody dead, and ain't nobody come back yet, right? So that's what we do know for sure. And we have to make sure, even if it's just a little checkup, go and get your mind. Like, people are going around shooting people, just shooting them up. What's wrong? Something. And then we want to get into the whole, demonic thing. This is demonic, that's whatever, it is what it is. Those things are very well true, but you got to get your mind together. You just have to. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to live a different life. Like she was saying, all of us are different. That is freedom. That is freedom. And that is what God is pushing. That is what he's pushing. He's pushing freedom, spiritual freedom. You living in condemnation. You thinking Jesus is mad at you. You thinking it's about works. You going to all these services, doing all of these things, thinking that it's building up your credit in heaven. Like you're doing all of these works, but on the inside, where are you on the inside with God? Where are you? Do you understand the acts of the Holy Spirit? Come on, y'all. Like, I feel that it's sad that a lot of Christians are depressed and then we're too scared to go and get our heads checked. So I pray that everybody is able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go get checked.
I think more than anything, because it's when we talk about therapy or having the conversation, it's so talked against that it can potentially give you like this distorted view of Jesus. Like he just wants you just to suffer. Like you
Yeah.
just have to suffer through this. And that is not true at all. It is far
And
from the
maybe
truth.
you are going to go through things. I'm not saying that God, like
Right.
you're not going to go through things and things are going to happen and God is going to see you through that. Sometimes he do use the things that we're going through to mature us spiritually and naturally and all of those things. So I'm not saying that it's supposed to be a popcorn ride with Jesus all the time. It's not, right? We get that.
Indeed, indeed. But there, I personally, as the church is a hospital, and what do you find in the hospital? When we go to the hospital in the natural, there are doctors and nurses in the hospital. There are medical professionals that are in this hospital to help you. And I could say that with the church being considered as a hospital, those that are in leadership, there is a role in the place that you play and encouraging people, uplifting people, being the ear, to hear for people, praying for people. Those are the tools and the power in which we use in God to help people. And so again, we just say that therapy is just it's another tool because too often when you go through it can potentially make you have a distorted view like Jesus just wants you to be in this bad situation. He don't want you to get help. That it's not it's far from the truth. And again, I want to kind of come back and what they be saying, Jeri, on Clubhouse, let's sanitize the room, right? I want to come back and be clear that all of us love God. All of us has a relationship with God. Like he is the first and foremost in our life. We pray to him. We believe him. We know that he's a healer. We know that he's a way maker. We know all of those things, but we also know what he has put in place and we've tried it and we found out that it has worked for us. It has changed our life, and that is therapy. He has opened the door and allowed us to go into therapy, and therapy has changed our life because what we found that therapy is a place that you go and you have the conversation. You can go and be yourself there, and ain't nobody throwing you out, kicking you out. Or when you go in there and you see and you're able to be yourself, sometimes they're able to see things on a deeper level that people that are non professional wouldn't be able to see. And sometimes you have the gift, which I believe I say that in regards of myself, because I ain't been to nobody's school to be I ain't no licensed therapist, but I do know by way of gifting that there are some things that I can highlight, share, and speak to in people's life to encourage them or guide them in a way to become better or healed and deal with whatever it is. And so we're not coming here to tell people, hey, like denounce anything that's foolish. Absolutely not. But what we want to do, if this is something that you've been struggling with, that you've been fighting with, and you've come here and you like, listen, I need some help. I'm battling with myself. I know I've had trauma in my life, and I've been avoiding it. I know I've probably been living in survival mode. It can be so many different things. But if you are here and you know that you need the help, what we want to encourage you to do is get the help that you need. It will change your life. We're not telling you to go to therapy. You got to take Jesus with you everywhere you go, like everywhere. Don't leave him at, I don't care where you're going. If you want to decide to go to the club, I ain't telling you to go, but you make sure you take Jesus with you. Like, and I'm being very, very serious. But we don't want those of you that have come on here and you're struggling in silence and you're battling. We don't want you to battle on your own. Try it out. If it don't work for you, then don't do it. But we've just we came to be the spokesmen that it can greatly assist you. Cause sometimes you can't give a voice to something that you really don't know what it is. And so I don't know if anybody, Jeri, if you had anything else you wanted to share, but I am thankful for what you guys have poured in and shared and gave tonight. Shardel, definitely thank you because you are able to give it from the perspective of a therapist. You, you on both sides of it. Like I'm the therapist and I love God. And so you can be a witness that the very work that you're doing, it is to help people. I've even said with therapy, it has made my relationship with God like so much better. Like literally going to therapy has made me, I mean, me and God then got really, really tight because there was a lot of stuff that I had in my head that I thought or believed or assumed that it was supposed to be a way, and it was just some stinking thinking that I've been able to deal with. And so I don't know, like I said before we get off here, in thanking everyone for coming on right now. I know our numbers then went up and down um, on Facebook, but all of you guys that are tuning in, again, I want to continuously encourage you to like and share, tell somebody about the Healing Clinic, follow us on all platforms. We were excited that for tonight, for our very first time of going live on Instagram. So now we're live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we are live. We're not currently live, but we be live on Blog Talk Radio, which recently, again, we found that that radio station has made it so far as Germany. And so I just want to spread what God is saying. And God speaks to us in many different ways. And He's putting things in place as tools to help us along this journey, and that includes people. We cannot do this by ourselves. We speak of us as being the body of Christ, and so everybody got a role, and a therapist is the role. It plays a role in helping us heal. Jeri, was there anything you wanted to say before we got off here?
I just wanted to say if there's anyone that is thinking about therapy, there is a part before you even like commit to actual a therapist or actually taking the role, and it's like an assessment. So just get yourself assessed. And you again, I think we've all shared, you don't have to tell anyone. Just take the assessment to see where you at. And this way it'll introduce you to a person and talking to someone, and you may like it or you may not. So I just want to admonish you to try. Just try it and see how it works for you, because it has helped all of us. So we're four different people with four different things going on in our life, and one of us is a therapist. So we're letting you know personal experiences that it's helped us, and it's helped us navigate. And even though I've always had Jesus. I'm a PK. I grew up in church. Once I got therapy, it helped me to balance. So everything about Jeri wasn't just Jesus. So it fixed the other side of me. So just try it out and see how it works for you. Take the assessment. Reach out to someone. Reach out to Browniesha, one of us, and to get connected, and just try it and see. And that was it.
Yeah, anybody else? Chardell wanted to say anything for you?
Yeah, I'll back talk for Jeri because she just took the words right out of my mouth. In addition to what she just said, do not be afraid to change your therapist if you don't like them. I think a lot of people go into it thinking, oh, okay, if I start telling this person my business and I don't like how it feels or I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to speak up because now I'm paying this person. Listen, if you go to every therapist one time until you figure out which one is the one you want to see for the second time, do that. As a therapist, we understand that not everybody connects with us. We don't connect with everybody. You need to trust the person who you're going to, especially because you're telling them your deepest, darkest thoughts. You're telling them and you're giving them, hi, baby. You're giving them opportunities to express themselves. I feel like, and a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to keep telling people my business. Understand that too. But again, if you think about it and you spin it to say, like, when I find the right person, then it won't feel like I'm telling them my business. It's going to feel like healing. So my message is don't be afraid to, if you meet somebody who's a therapist and you're like, hey, that first session didn't really feel good, or I don't feel comfortable, it's okay to say, you know what, I think I'm going to pause. I think I'm going to find somebody else. If you're 2 or 3 sessions in and you realize, oh, this person's talking about themselves, or maybe they just don't really understand me, it's okay to say, this is not going to work. I need to find somebody else. We don't take that personal. It's not a personal attack on us. It's not a personal attack on therapy. It just means that you and I weren't compatible for what you need. Please move on to the next person until you can find what you're looking for. It will benefit you more than you realize.
Absolutely, absolutely. Annie, you wanted to share, say anything?
Yes, I would say if you are saying, you're thinking that you don't want to necessarily go to therapy just yet, what I will say is start in the Gospels when it comes to the Bible. If you're going to go that, pretty much go that route, start in the Gospels. Um, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Start in the Gospels, and then realize, or start in the Gospels. Learn how to study the Bible so that you can approach each book of the Gospels in the way that you should, knowing who they're talking to and all of that good stuff. But I think it'll be a good ride. So if you are feeling like you're not really, necessarily ready for therapy, start in the Gospels.
Thank you to each and every one of you guys. And Lisa, you said, are you offering assessments? Well, being that three of us are actually not therapists, I am a mental health coach, but being that we're not therapists, we don't offer assessments. And I'm not sure if, in regards to services, if our Shardel is open for taking clients. I'm not sure how that actually works for her, but what I will say is that we have collectively had a conversation in regards to doing something that we're going to call the drop in. And so if you're not actually ready to go to therapy, you will have the opportunity to sit in a space and we hold conversations with us. Yes, um, I believe we've all went to therapy. If we not went to therapy, Chardell again is a therapist, and she's not coming in the capacity of being anyone's therapist. Let's clarify that. But we will be in a space of giving out tools, suggestions, and even books that we've talked about that can help you, because there are also reads that it's certain things that you can read that may be an assist to you. I mean, the Bible, and there's some other materials that you can read that can be a great help to you on this healing journey. And so we just wanted to offer that again. I want to be clear that we don't come here bringing no form of division, but what we want to do is bring what we want to do is bring togetherness. And when I say that, I mean Jesus plus therapy. And we are making Jesus the head. We are clear that therapy is just an additive that you can add to your life to assist you. But it is work. And so I don't want no one to misconstrue anything that was said here tonight, that we're clear about what our expressions is, our opinions, our thoughts as it pertains to believing in God, acknowledging that Jesus is our Lord and Savior. But yes, we are people that believe um, in therapy. So I love you guys. Thanks each and every one of you for tuning in, for sharing. Um, y'all, thank y'all for coming on this Monday night and sharing your experiences, being transparent, because sometimes that's a whole thing even for us, coming and talking about where we've been, where we've gone. Even Annie, for you, talking about your experience. Jeri, you talking about being like all of it. It's not something that's to be taken lightly. And so I appreciate you guys, because these are conversations that we have in secret, right? I talk to you guys about these things all the time. And that was what I wanted to do with the Healing Clinic, is make some private conversations public, because other people need to hear it. And some people don't even realize that they needed therapy until tonight. No, some people didn't realize that. And I'll say this last thing as I get ready to close out. I remember last year doing the Break Free Healing Experience, and we did that, and we had a group of we had therapists, counselors, and all that. It was a lot of people that had attended that conference that didn't even realize they had a problem. They didn't even realize that they needed therapy. It wasn't until the conversation was had and people started expressing their experience. People started wait, I need help. Like I'm even still hearing conversations about that conference today because people have been walking with themselves all these years and they've been so accustomed to how they was living that they didn't realize that there was an actual problem. So I say that to say that I'm praying tonight that the individuals that have come in here and those of you that are still here, if you realize that you need some assistance, all that they've shared tonight, take it into consideration and get the assistance that you need. For those of you, if you got Medi-Cal or anything, you can even call them to get a list of providers. There's so many different ways you can look up how to get a therapist. Some people, if you're the one that you only want a black therapist, they have therapy. It's a organization I know that's called Therapy for Black Girls. So it the help is there, the resources are there. So definitely be sure to take advantage of that. And so we love you guys. Thank you, Didi. She said amazing conversation, ladies. We had Sharon that said, glad I happened to hear the conversation. I did share, and she said, a great job. So, you guys have an amazing night. Goodbye, Facebook. Goodbye, Instagram. And those of you that are watching us on YouTube, you guys have a good night and be blessed.